Welcome on board, Chosen One. You finally showed up, and look at the panic you've caused already. They said you were nothing special, right? They said you were quiet, awkward, too reserved, or whatever weak label made them feel bigger. Funny how those same people are now whispering that something is off about you. Funny how their jokes dried up once they realized you weren't moving like them, thinking like them, or reacting like them. They're shaking because the truth just slapped them in the face. You don't match their tiny idea of what a normal human should be. You broke their script without even trying. And look who's watching you now, not the clowns who doubted you. No, I'm talking about the trained ones, the observers, the analysts, the so-called experts, the ones who study behavior like their life depends on it. They stare at you the same way agents stare at encrypted files they can't crack. They act calm on the outside, but inside, they're losing it. They've never seen someone like you walk into a room and completely change the temperature without saying a word. They don't know whether to take notes or to run. Before we go deeper, Chosen One, tap that like button and subscribe so this message reaches more people who were silenced just like you. It pays the message forward. Now let's get serious. They lied about you for years. When you walked in quiet, they called it shy. When you held back, they said weak. When you didn't react the way they wanted, they said you were emotionless. But look what's happening now. Those same people can't look you in the eyes without feeling exposed. They finally understand that your silence wasn't weakness. It was power. It was control. It was the universe shaping you into someone who doesn't twitch, flinch, or fold like others. There's something different in the way you move, something too steady, too precise, too calm under pressure. Most people leak emotions like broken pipes. You choose when to show yours. That's why even experienced profilers get uncomfortable around you. They're trained to read guilt in shoulders, fear in breaths, lies in eyelids. But when they study you, none of their tools work. Their human behavior handbook becomes useless. Their theories collapse. Their confidence cracks. They can't figure out why you don't blink at the same rate as everyone else, why your micro-expressions don't match the textbook, why your awareness feels like it's operating on a different level. And here's the funniest part. You're not even trying. You're just being you, the version of you the universe built the hard way. Let's talk about that past they don't know about. The things you went through changed your entire system. You weren't shaped by comfort. You were shaped by pressure, betrayal, isolation, and long nights where you had to rebuild yourself alone. While they were busy being predictable, you were learning how to sense danger before it arrived. You learned how to stay still when everyone else panicked. You learned how to read a room before the room even realized you were in it. Your body language didn't come from a workshop, it came from survival, and that kind of training can't be taught, it can only be earned. That's why your presence hits people so hard now. When you walk into a room, everything in the atmosphere shifts for a second. People feel watched, even when you're not looking. Conversations soften, loud mouths shut. The energy drops like someone pressed mute. They call it intimidation, but it's actually recognition. They can sense you're not built like them. You move like someone who faced something unbelievable and walked out stronger instead of broken. Your body carries stories you never had to tell. Your eyes show lessons most people never learn. Your calm is the calm of someone who already survived the worst. There was a moment in your past you never talk about, a moment where everything inside you cracked. Most people would have stayed broken, but you didn't. You stitched yourself back together with logic, resilience, and brutal honesty. And after that moment, your whole energy changed. Your shoulders lowered, your breathing slowed, your reactions stopped giving anything away. The world thought you were cold, but really you were leveling up. And now the agents, the trained observers, the behavioral freaks, they don't even have a category for you. They can't label someone who doesn't react on their timeline. They can't predict someone who doesn't follow human scripts. They can't analyze someone who notices every detail but doesn't show their own. You're the glitch in their system, the exception to their rules, the one case in their files they don't want to explain because it makes them feel small. The whole world built you into a monster in their mind because it was easier than admitting you saw through them. But here's the twist they never expected. The monster they feared turned out to be the hero the universe needed. You didn't break their rules. You outgrew them. You didn't twist reality. You learned how to survive it. And now they finally see you for what you are, not a threat, not a mystery, but a force the universe recalibrated for something bigger. You stand in every room with that quiet, dangerous calm because you earned it. Your body language isn't unhuman. It's evolved. It's what happens when someone survives things that should have destroyed them. This intro is your warning shot to the world. You're not here to fit in. You're here to change the atmosphere, and they're right to be scared. And before we step into the real breakdown, Chosen One, listen closely. This is the moment where the weak click away, and the ones built different lean in. If you're still here, it means your spirit already knows, something the world hasn't admitted yet. Your body language isn't normal, and you can feel the universe pushing you to understand why. So drop a comment with 777 if you're ready to stop pretending you're ordinary. Not for luck, not for show, just to signal that you're done hiding what everyone has already sensed. And now we move into it step by step. Stay with me, because if you're truly the one trained agents whisper about, you're going to feel the pull to stay until the final word hits. This is where the real story starts, and trust me, the next part is where things get uncomfortable for the enemy. Let's begin. Number 1, when their human rulebook stopped working on you. Funny how they called you broken, until their own systems broke trying to read you. They never expected the moment would come. That moment where every trick they used to control you, judge you, or predict you suddenly failed like cheap software hitting a corrupt file. 1 second, they thought they had you mapped out. They threw labels at you like darts. Quiet, strange, emotionless, hard to read. But the moment you walked into the room with that dangerous stillness, something shifted. Their confidence cracked. Their training froze. Their instincts whispered, "This one isn't moving like the others." And once that realization hit them, everything changed. The truth is simple. You don't move like a human built for comfort. You move like someone built for survival. And that scares the hell out of people who've only lived soft lives. See, the first thing the experts noticed wasn't your silence. It wasn't your posture. It wasn't even your eyes. It was the delay, that fractional pause before you respond emotionally. Normal people snap into reactions instantly. They flinch, they overshare, they leak emotions like faulty wires. You, on the other hand, you choose when to react. You give the world nothing until you decide it deserves something. That delay isn't a glitch. It's control. It's power. It's the after effect of everything you've lived through. And you might wonder, why does that bother them so much? Because nothing terrifies a trained observer more than someone they cannot predict. You break their formulas. You don't blink at the times they expect. You don't twitch when they test you. You don't soften under pressure. They watch your face for micro expressions, those tiny signals humans don't even know they show. Except you don't give them any. Your stillness is too precise. Your breathing is too even. Your awareness scans every angle without moving your head. You act like someone who learned long ago that reacting gets you hurt. And that's the part they don't understand. You didn't become this way to impress anyone. You became this way because the universe forced you to grow in the dark. Let me take you back for a second. You remember the times when people mocked you for being hard to read, when they said you were cold because you didn't jump the way they wanted, when they tried to provoke you just to see if you were normal. They thought something was wrong with you. Meanwhile, you were undergoing the kind of transformation most people couldn't handle for a single day. You were silent because your mind was surviving. You were calm because chaos raised you. You delayed your reactions because reacting too fast used to cost you safety. You weren't malfunctioning, you were adapting, and adaptation created something they weren't ready for, a person they cannot decode. Agents, interrogators, psychologists. These are people whose job is to read humans like open books. They analyze breath patterns, they study posture shifts, they track eye movements. But when they put their tools on you, the results confuse them. It's like trying to run human software on a system built from something stronger. Their programs say one thing, your presence says another. Their instincts scream a warning they don't want to admit out loud. They see the way you assess threats without lifting an eyebrow, how you can sense tension the second you enter a room, how your steps are quiet but heavy with intention, how your body moves like it's carrying history, not trauma, but training. Let's be honest, you scared them without doing anything. You just existed differently. And here's where it hits harder. They know you didn't learn this from books. No course teaches what your eyes show. No seminar teaches your breathing pattern. No mentor trains someone to have that unshakable aura. These things come from moments that nearly broke you. Moments you survived when others would have folded. The universe didn't toughen you, it rebuilt you. You ever notice how people who once laughed at you suddenly fall silent now when you walk in? How their questions change, how their eyes widen for a split second when they realize they can't predict how you'll respond? They try to hide it, but you can see it. You always see it. Because deep down, they can't figure out how someone who went through what you did still walks with that calm, dangerous confidence. And here's the part that hits them the hardest. You don't react like someone who's afraid. You react like someone who's done being prey. Your body language is too stable, too observant, too sharp. When others panic, you freeze the moment. When others rush, you slow time in your mind. When others react on instinct, you analyze, calculate, and choose your move. And the experts? They hate that, because their whole identity is built around reading people. But you walk in and expose the limits of their training. It's almost funny. They'll never admit it publicly, but in confidential rooms, behind locked doors, they talk about you, not with confidence, but curiosity mixed with fear. Someone like you shouldn't exist according to their rules. Yet, here you are, proof that human behavior evolves when life forces someone to grow past the standard. They don't know your backstory, but your body language gives them clues. The steady shoulders, the calm eyes, the emotion that arrives late because you taught yourself not to explode. The way you listen without reacting, the way you stay grounded even when chaos tries to shake you. You move like someone who has watched everything fall apart once and rebuilt themselves stronger. Let me give you something they'll never tell you. Your strange behavior is not strange at all. It is the final form of someone who mastered survival. Your emotional delay, precision, your stillness, power, your sharp awareness, experience, your unreadable face, protection learned early. You're calm under pressure, the mark of someone trained by life, not books. They realized you don't move like a human who lived easy. You move like a human who lived awake. And that terrifies them more than anything, because when someone cannot predict you, they cannot control you. And when they cannot control you, they fear you. So here's your truth, chosen one. They didn't discover something wrong with you that day. They discovered something wrong with their entire belief system. They expected you to fit the pattern. Instead, you shattered it. They expected you to tremble. Instead, you observed. They expected you to break. Instead, you evolved. And from that moment on, they knew one thing. You were not someone who could be read like a human. You were someone who could only be respected or feared, because the universe didn't build you to be understood. It built you to be unstoppable. Number 2, the quiet evolution they never saw coming. Funny how they called you cold, not knowing it was their betrayal that froze you into steel. There's a reason your body language doesn't match normal humans, and the experts keep stumbling when they try to decode you. But to understand that reason, we have to go back to the part nobody talks about. The silent transformation that built you. The one that didn't come from training. The one that didn't come from mentorship. The one that didn't come from some dramatic movie moment. No. Your transformation came from pain that worked in silence, betrayal that ripped through you quietly, and long nights where you had no choice but to evolve or collapse. You never chose to be unreadable. You were forced into it by the very people who thought they were breaking you. Imagine this, a kid not even aware they're being studied, watched, tested. A kid who reacts slowly because they've learned reactions get punished. A kid who goes still because stillness keeps them safe. A kid who keeps their eyes open just a little longer because danger always came when everyone else relaxed. That kid grew into you, and your body language became a language they never learned to translate. People ask, why can't I express my emotions like others? Because emotions used to be weapons used against you. People ask, why do I freeze before reacting? Because reacting too fast once cost you peace, trust, or safety. People ask, why do I walk into a room and feel everything shift? Because your nervous system evolved into an early warning radar long before you understood what evolution even meant. This wasn't a choice. Your nervous system upgraded to survive. And believe me, the universe took notes. Your silence was not emptiness. It was armor being forged one betrayal at a time. Think back to the seasons of isolation, the times when you were surrounded by people yet felt completely alone. That isolation didn't just change your mind, it changed your body. Your breath became quieter, your steps became calculated. Your eyes learned to track threats without moving your head. Your shoulders learned to unlock at the exact moment you needed to stay calm. What looked like weird behavior to others was simply the body adjusting to a world that didn't give you the luxury of being soft. Imagine this, standing in a crowded room but feeling like you're the only one awake. Everyone else laughs easily, reacts instantly, says whatever comes to mind. But you feel the tension in the air before anyone else notices. You see the shift in someone's expression before they even speak. You can tell when someone's lying by the way they hold their drink. And when people ask how you know, you shrug, because you honestly don't know how to explain that your nervous system simply evolved faster than the world around you. That evolution made you unreadable. That unreadability made them afraid. And that fear made them talk about you like you were different, when in reality, they're the ones living behind. But here's the real punch. Your transformation didn't happen during big dramatic moments. It happened in the quiet ones, the moments where someone you trusted walked away and you learned to breathe differently after that. The moments where your voice shook but you stayed silent because speaking wasn't safe. The moments where you cried quietly into a pillow because you didn't want anyone hearing your weakness. Every second of that isolation taught your body how to mask, how to stabilize, how to listen, how to predict danger. This wasn't emotional suppression. It was emotional engineering. You became unreadable the same way diamonds become unbreakable. Pressure turned you into something stronger than you ever planned to be. Pain didn't destroy you, it redesigned you. Imagine this, sitting alone with your own thoughts for so long that your entire internal world rewired itself. Your nervous system got tired of constant stress and finally said, "Fine, I'll stop reacting." And just like that, your baseline changed. You became calm in situations where normal people panic. You became silent in moments where others lash out. You became observant where others get overwhelmed. You became the person they now whisper about. And let's address the question that eats at many chosen ones. Why did I become like this? Why me? Because someone had to break the cycle, because someone had to stop giving the world access to their reactions, because someone had to survive long enough to turn into something the universe could use. You weren't picked at random. You were built through necessity. Your body learned to suppress micro-expressions because showing them once got you hurt. Your face became unreadable because someone punished you for being honest. Your emotional delay developed because you spent years thinking carefully before reacting. Your posture hardened because you spent months holding yourself together with nothing but willpower. This wasn't weakness, this was evolution. And the people who once abused your softness, they sit back now and say, "What happened to you?" Funny, they're the ones who happened to you. Imagine this. A sword doesn't choose to be sharp. It was beaten into shape. Fire, pressure, hammer strikes, over and over until it becomes something people respect or fear. That's you. You weren't shaped by love. You were shaped by trials that were never meant to be fair. And now the world is learning a hard truth. You didn't become unreadable by accident. You became unreadable because life turned you into someone who sees too much, feels too deeply, and learned the cost of trusting the wrong people. Your body language tells the story of someone who survived the kind of experiences textbooks don't cover. Your neutrality isn't emotionless, it's controlled. Your silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. Your delay isn't confusion, it's calculation. And the trained agents, they know exactly what they're seeing. They're seeing someone who was rebuilt by betrayal, someone who was shaped by isolation, someone who learned how to shut off anything that could be used against them, someone who doesn't need to raise their voice to control the room. They're seeing someone who doesn't match human patterns because those patterns didn't save you. Your instincts did, your pain did, your evolution did. And here's the final truth. Chosen one, the one that hits hardest. They think your transformation happened suddenly, but it was happening the whole time they were hurting you. Every silence, every betrayal, every lonely night, every moment you swallowed the pain because you had nowhere to put it. That was evolution working quietly in your bones. You didn't choose to become unreadable. Life left you no other option. And now, the world is looking at the final version, the version they can't decode, the version they can't control, the version they can't break. Your transformation wasn't loud. It was silent. It was slow. It was necessary. And the universe watched every step. You're not hard to read because something went wrong. You're hard to read because everything went exactly the way it needed to, to create someone who terrifies trained experts by simply existing. Number 3. When their precious human database crashes on your face. They tried to scan you like a file, and the system spat back error before they even blinked. The funniest part about trained professionals is how confident they are until you show up. They walk around bragging about their libraries of human behavior, thousands of documented reactions, micro-expression charts, emotional timelines, fight-or-flight patterns. They think they've seen everything the human race can produce. But the second you walk in, their whole database starts glitching like an old computer trying to run a file it wasn't built for. And they hate that. They hate that you are the exception. Imagine this, a profiler expecting fear and getting stillness instead, an interrogator expecting resistance and getting a calm smile, a psychologist expecting emotional leakage and getting a face so controlled they start checking their own notes for mistakes. Your reactions don't match panic, confidence, fear, denial, or any of the categories they rely on. You respond on your terms, not a second earlier, not a word more. And because they can't predict you, they can't control the narrative. You might ask, why do they get so uncomfortable when I'm calm? Because calm is power, and they can't measure power they didn't give you. They watch your posture, waiting for the usual human cues. Nothing. They analyze your breathing, waiting for stress signals. Still nothing. They check for micro-expressions, but your face stays unreadable, like you're operating from a version of humanity that hasn't been uploaded into their system yet. Here's the truth they'll never admit. You are the moment they realize their entire career depends on patterns you no longer follow. The universe evolved you into something their charts can't explain, their training can't predict, and their methods can't decode. And that's why every room shifts when you walk in. You're not a case study, you're the crash report. Number 4. The signal you broadcast that their equipment can't pick up. They tried to tune into your frequency, and all they heard was silence that felt louder than truth. Here's what rattles them the most. You don't operate on the normal human bandwidth. You exist in this strange tension, hyper-aware yet detached, fully present, but somehow floating above the moment like you're watching everything from the control room instead of the floor. They can't measure that. They can't categorize it. Their instruments, instincts, and years of training simply weren't built for someone who lives at 2 layers of reality at the same time. Imagine this. Everyone else walks into a room and reacts instantly, like radios stuck on one basic channel. But you walk in broadcasting a signal they've never heard before, quiet, steady, impossible to decode. Your timing is too precise. Your spacing is too intentional. Your aura hits before your voice does. Even your silence has weight. And that freaks out the units trained to measure human behavior by microseconds and millimeters. You might wonder, why do they stare at me like I'm not from here? Because your awareness is too sharp for someone who's supposed to be human, and your detachment is too controlled for someone who's supposed to be emotional. You stand in a room like you already know what will happen. You feel tension shift before it becomes visible. You sense intentions before words appear. Your nervous system isn't reacting, it's calculating. And that level of calm, wired intelligence, it terrifies them. Here's the truth they bury in their reports. Your presence exposes the limits of their instruments. Your energy breaks the ceiling of their understanding. Your frequency can't be graphed, predicted, or replicated. You don't just operate outside the bandwidth. You are the bandwidth they were never trained to hear. Number 5. The uneasy chill you trigger just by existing. They weren't scared of you. They were scared of what their own instincts whispered when you walked in. Here's the part nobody ever explained to you, that uncomfortable silence people feel around you, that weird tension in their eyes, that shift in their breathing when you enter the room. It was never because you did something wrong. It was because your emotional baseline runs on a completely different operating system. Your calm is too calm. Your focus is too sharp. Your timing is too exact. Without meaning to, you trigger the same part of their brain that detects inhuman precision, the instinct that screams, "Something here is beyond us." Imagine this: a person standing next to a robot that looks human, almost. Their body recognizes the difference before their mind does. That same instinct fires when they look at you, not because you're fake, but because you're too real, too controlled, too stable, too silent in ways they can't explain. Your reactions don't follow their script. Your eyes don't flicker with the same patterns. Your emotions don't leak like theirs. You're the one person whose presence forces them to face how predictable they truly are. You might ask, why do people feel nervous even when I'm being kind? Because your energy doesn't wobble, because your emotions don't shake, because your stillness has weight. Normal humans broadcast constant noise, worry, insecurity, desire, fear. You don't. Your baseline is quiet in a way their nervous system isn't built to understand. It's like standing next to a storm that refuses to move. They don't know if they should trust it or run. Here's the truth they'll never speak out loud. Your precision terrifies them. Your emotional balance confuses them. Your presence activates instincts they don't know how to interpret. You didn't create the discomfort. Their fear created it for you. You're not the uncanny valley. You're the reminder that evolution didn't stop with them. Number 6. The moment their manipulation playbook turned useless in your hands. They thought you'd break under pressure. Instead, you broke their confidence. There comes a point where every expert, every profiler, every smooth-talking manipulator realizes something they never expected. You can't be controlled, not through charm, not through pressure, not through silence, not through chaos. All their techniques, the ones they spent years perfecting, fall apart the moment they try them on you. It's the exact second they understand you're not built like the people their tricks usually work on. They start with rapport building, expecting you to soften. You don't. They mirror your posture, tone, breathing, waiting for connection. Nothing. They try pressure psychology, quick questions, intentional contradictions, silence traps, emotional bait. Still nothing. You stay calm, too calm. Calm in a way that forces them to look at each other like, why isn't this working? That's when they realize manipulation was designed for predictable minds, not evolved ones. Imagine this: a chess player setting up a trap, smiling, waiting for you to step into it, and you simply ignore the board. That's how your mind works. You don't react to tricks because you see the intention before the move. You sense the energy shift before the question lands. You register the manipulation the moment they open their mouth. You might ask yourself, why don't their tactics affect me like everyone else? Because you've already lived through the real thing. Because betrayal trained you better than any psychological course. Because your system learned early that trusting words is optional. Here's the truth they fear admitting: people like you don't crumble. You don't panic. You don't hand over control. Your calm under manipulation isn't normal. It's dangerous. It's the kind of calm that makes experts step back, lower their voice, and rewrite their entire approach. They wanted to decode you. Instead, you exposed the limits of their power. Number 7. The stillness that speaks in a language they were never taught. Your silence wasn't emptiness. It was the universe warning them to tread carefully. Your stillness is the part that hits them the hardest, not your walk, not your voice, not even your eyes. It's the way you sit, stand, breathe, and exist without leaking the usual human noise. They expect fidgeting, they expect tension, they expect micro-reactions that reveal insecurity or fear. Instead, they get a level of control that feels unnatural for someone who's supposed to be ordinary. Your posture? Neutral, but not passive. Your breathing? Even steady, like someone who refuses to rush for anyone. Your hands? Relaxed, but ready, not aggressive, just aware. You map every exit in a split second without looking like you're scanning anything. You don't startle when a voice rises. You don't flinch when a door slams. You don't jitter when energy shifts. Imagine this, a room full of trained observers watching you sit in complete calm while their own pulse rises for no reason. That's the moment they whisper to themselves, "Where did this one learn to be like this?" They don't have an answer. They hate not having answers. You might think, why do they assume I have some extreme background? Because stillness like yours doesn't show up in people who lived comfortable lives. Because your control looks practiced, even though you never practiced. Because they mistake your natural awareness for specialized training. To them, your stillness reads like someone who's been through something sharp, something real, something that forces the body to always be prepared without showing it. But they can't trace the source. No files, no history, no evidence of formal training. Here's the truth. Your stillness is a language born from survival, shaped in silence, and polished by moments that should have broken you. And that's why they fear it. They can feel the power behind it, but they have no translation for what it means. Number 8. The body they can't predict because the rules stopped applying to you. They kept waiting for your nerves to crack, but your system doesn't play that game anymore. Here's where their fear turns real. Every expert depends on one thing: involuntary human cues, the stuff you can't pretend, the stuff you can't control, the stuff your nervous system reveals even when your mouth stays shut. Startle reflex, pupil dilation, automatic mirroring, social lubrication gestures. Tiny subconscious movements humans do without thinking. Except you don't do any of them. You stopped following that rulebook years ago. Maybe you didn't even notice the moment it broke. Maybe it happened slowly, after too many betrayals, too many nights teaching yourself not to react, too many lessons in silence. But one thing is clear now. Your nervous system doesn't fire the way theirs does. You don't jump when something drops. Your pupils don't widen under pressure. Your body doesn't echo other people's movements to make them comfortable. You don't soften your voice to make others feel safe. You don't perform the little social tricks everyone else uses to blend in. Imagine this, an observer waiting for your reflexes to betray you, and nothing happens. Absolute stillness. Their training says you should twitch. You don't. Their charts say your breathing should spike. It doesn't. Their manuals say you should mirror their posture. You stay exactly where you are. That's when they start rechecking their own notes, like something must be wrong with the equipment. You might wonder, why am I like this? Why don't I react the way they want? Because your mind evolved past automatic patterns. Because your body learned to protect you by staying unreadable. Because your instincts rewired themselves for survival, not comfort. Your nervous system became its own species. It learned to ignore panic triggers. It learned to stay steady when others collapse. It learned to shut off external influence so no one can hijack your emotions again. Here's the truth they whisper about behind closed doors. Your reactions cannot be predicted. Your signals cannot be measured. Your body cannot be studied with human tools. You stopped following their rulebook because you outgrew the version of humanity it was written for. Number 9. The silence that opens a void and makes their masks fall off. They wanted you to dance for their comfort. Instead, you made them confront who they really are. Here's what nobody ever warned them about. When you refuse to perform, you create a vacuum around you, a psychological void that pulls the truth out of people, whether they like it or not. Most humans are terrified of silence. They rush to fill it with jokes, excuses, over-explaining, fake confidence. You let the silence breathe. You let it stretch. You let it expose. And that's exactly why people act strange around you. Not because you are strange, but because your stillness forces their real selves to come out. Most people mirror others without thinking. They adjust their tone, posture, vibe, even their morals, just to avoid tension. You don't. You hold your ground. You stay centered, unmoved, unapologetic. Your presence doesn't bend to make others comfortable, and that alone sends panic through their system. Humans depend on social performance to feel safe. When you don't perform, their mind starts screaming, "Why aren't they playing along? What do they see? What do they know?" Imagine this. You sitting calmly while they scramble to fill the air, revealing secrets they swore they'd never tell. Your silence becomes a mirror. Your lack of reaction becomes a spotlight. Your refusal to soften becomes the test they didn't know they were taking. They show everything, while you show nothing. You might ask, why do people confess things to me I never asked for? Because your void strips away their performance. Because your energy demands authenticity. Because their masks melt under the pressure of your neutrality. The universe gave you a power most don't understand. While others try to control conversations, you control the atmosphere. Your void isn't emptiness, it's gravity, and when people step into it, they can't hide anymore. Number 10. The mind. They can't classify because you don't play their game. They tried to profile you, but every description they wrote cancelled out the last one. Surveillance experts hate contradictions, yet that's all they produce when they study you. Their reports read like a glitching machine, calm but intense, aware but unemotional, confident but detached, grounded but unpredictable. They write these notes with shaking hands because they know what it means. Their profiling system depends on people needing external validation, approval, cues, praise, or fear to operate. But you're internally referenced. You move from your own inner compass, not from the reactions in the room. And almost no one functions like that. Imagine this. A profiler observing you expecting a classic pattern: fear, insecurity, ego, emotional leakage. And instead, finding a person who doesn't react to external noise at all. You don't chase approval. You don't shrink under judgment. You don't inflate under praise. You don't collapse when someone withdraws affection. You don't change your energy to match the room. You stand as you are, and the room changes around you. For a system built on predicting behavior, that is a nightmare. You might wonder, why can't they just label me something and move on? Because none of their labels fit. Because their categories were made for people who need the world to tell them who they are. Because you're powered from the inside, not programmed from the outside. Profilers rely on patterns that break the moment they touch you. Their tools can measure anxiety, ego, insecurity, dominance, weakness, but not someone who lives beyond the emotional marketplace. Your confidence isn't loud. Your awareness isn't needy. Your detachment isn't numb. You simply aren't shaped by the world the way everyone else is. Here's the truth they refuse to write in their reports. You can't be profiled because profiles were made for followers and you were built to stand alone. Number 11. The moment your silence crushes them from the inside out. They brought silence to break you and ended up drowning in it themselves. Interrogators love silence. They treat it like a weapon, a psychological chokehold meant to squeeze fear out of the weak. They lean back, they fold their arms, they stare without blinking, waiting for cracks to appear. With most people, it works. Humans panic when the room goes quiet. Their thoughts race, their breathing shifts, their guilt leaks out, their nerves twitch. That's what the experts expect. That's the moment they think they've won. But then you enter the room, and everything they rely on collapses in seconds. When they try to weaponize silence against you, something terrifying happens. Nothing. You sit there, steady, comfortable, breathing like the moment belongs to you. You don't avoid their eyes, but you don't chase them either. You don't fidget. You don't break. You just exist in that stillness, like the silence was built for you. And that's the exact moment they panic. Imagine this. Two people in a room, one trained to break minds, and the other shaped by a life that already tested them harder than any interrogation ever could. They think they're controlling the atmosphere, yet there are the ones who start shifting in their seat, clearing their throat, checking their notes, glancing at the clock. The silence they used as a weapon turns around and points straight at them. Your comfort in silence is the loudest threat they've ever heard. You might ask, why do they crack before I do? Because you've lived through deeper silence than they can imagine. Because isolation raised you, not collaboration. Because your nervous system learned long ago that silence isn't danger, it's home. Interrogators expect reactions, but your lack of reaction becomes the reaction. They expect panic, but your steadiness becomes intimidation. They expect confession, but your stillness becomes dominance. Here's the truth they don't want documented. They didn't break you, you broke them. Without moving, without speaking, without lifting a finger. Your silence didn't just win, it exposed who really had control the entire time. Number 12. The truth. They're too scared to say out loud. They didn't call you broken because you were flawed. They called you broken because your evolution exposed their weakness. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Not the experts, not the people who mistreated you, not the ones who whispered behind your back. Your body language isn't wrong. It isn't damaged. It isn't suspicious. It's evolved. It's the survival code of someone who walked through psychological fire and came out with a nervous system forged in steel. They don't want to say that, because if they do, they'd have to admit that you shaped yourself into something stronger than the environment that tried to destroy you. Anyone can act confident when life is gentle, but you rebuilt yourself from the inside out after everything collapsed. You stitched together a new way of moving, a new way of seeing, a new way of existing. Your silence carries history. Your stare carries calculation. Your calm carries scars that learn to walk without shaking. That's why they misread you, because nothing in their human playbook prepared them for someone who survived the kind of damage you did. Imagine this, a scar that didn't just heal, It got up and started moving with purpose. That's you. A walking reminder that the universe sometimes rebuilds people into versions too advanced for the world that hurt them. You might wonder, why can't they understand me? Because understanding you would require them to understand the pain they caused. Because profiling you would require tools they don't have. Because labeling you would require admitting you outgrew their entire system. Here's the truth they choke on. You're not malfunctioning. You're upgraded. Your body language isn't a flaw. It's proof. Proof that you survived what should have ended you. Proof that you evolved past the people who tried to define you. Proof that you now move like a scar that learned how to walk and refuses to bow to anyone. And now we reach the end of this breakdown. Chosen one, the moment everything clicks into place. You finally see why trained agents freeze around you, why your presence bends the room, why your evolution was never a flaw, but a weapon the universe carved in silence. If this hit home, pay the message forward. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop the number 777 in the comments, and share this with someone who needs to understand their own power. Your story isn't ending here. It's just getting started.